Well, as we know, Julian Assange is back home in Australia today after a decade-long legal saga for the publication of US classified military documents. Dr. Emma Shortis is a senior researcher in international security affairs at the Australia Institute, a big expert in everything to do with the US, and that's what we're talking about this morning with her. She joins us in the studio. Emma, great to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Let's talk about how this is all played out in the United States. We do have a sharp polarisation, a division over there about Assange, as is the case here in Australia, including from the types of former US President Mike Pence, who is distinctly unhappy with what's happened.
Yeah, look, Pence is particularly unhappy. I think I'd say that there certainly is a divide in the United States, but voices like Pence are particularly loud. But I think that's a relatively small group. You know, they're pushing back on this argument about national security, that Julian Assange was a threat to national security, which is not based in any evidence, you know, as we heard from the court today. But they do appear to be particularly frustrated by this result. But I think on balance, actually, the support for Julian Assange in the US is pretty significant.
I guess the argument made by Mike Pence, and we're seeing his tweet put up just in the wake of the news of that plea deal unfolding, is that, sure, that the court was told that no lives were lost by the release of this classified information, but the fear is about what could have happened to American service personnel, intelligence officers, with this unredacted information just pushed out there.
Yeah, look, I think that's being deliberately framed that way. And I would say that WikiLeaks and Julian Assange were very careful about the information that they released. They were very aware of the danger of releasing unredacted information. So I think the evidence is pretty clear there. And I think, as many others have said as well, you know, this is a convenient argument for the national security state to make when what Julian Assange and WikiLeaks revealed was actual harm to actual people and, you know, alleged US involvement in war crimes. And so framing it this way for, you know, characters like Pence is deliberate and pretty convenient.
OK, so the next step, as confirmed by Gabriel Shipton, Julian's brother, is that Julian will at some stage push for a presidential pardon to have the conviction overturned. You have not long back from DC. You know, as I said, how Washington really works. It'll involve some help from his US political supporters. How do you see a pardon bid playing out? Well,
look, I think, you know, Julian Assange, as we've said, has a lot of support in Washington, and particularly in the Congress. There's bipartisan support there from, you know, the far right of the Freedom Caucus right across to the Progressive Caucus. And so I think there will be a push for a pardon, and certainly there's a strong appeal there to President Biden around press freedom, you know, in a year where American democracy and press freedom in particular is under the microscope. So I certainly think a pardon is possible. You know, Joe Biden is a compassionate man.
So this is brought into frame as well, the debate between secrecy and national security. Of course, there are strong free speech protections in America, and of course, as you know, it is a very strong national security state. We are endeavouring to sort of walk a middle line here, aren't we?
Yeah, look, I think so, and I think that's part of the reason that Assange's case has made many people so uncomfortable, because it does highlight, you know, the strength of that national security state, and particularly secrecy. And you know, Pence and his ilk are making this argument that national security, you know, secrecy is critical to national security. But I think Assange and WikiLeaks, you know, highlight that secrecy doesn't necessarily make us safer, and particularly keeping secrets like that in a democracy, you know, becomes, I think, eventually irreconcilable when you're talking about democracies also doing harm.
Dr. Emma Shortis from the Australia Institute, really appreciate your insights this morning. Great to see you again.